Snow fell like ashes over the quiet street, covering the world in cold silence. People hurried past the small figure sitting on the curb. A young boy wrapped in a torn jacket, his fingers trembling as he tried to rub warmth into them. But no one stopped. No one even looked. Until Malik did. Malik was poor, so poor that his shoes had holes and his stomach had been empty since morning. Yet, when he saw the shivering boy in the snow, something in him wouldn't let him walk away. He dropped his paper bag of bread, ran over, and placed his own jacket over the boy's shoulders. "Hey," Malik whispered, "you're gonna freeze out here. Come with me." Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're re-watching from. I love knowing who's listening. He led the pale boy to an abandoned bus stop and tried to share what little food he had. The boy, too weak to speak, just nodded and smiled faintly. Malik could see tears in his eyes, not from the cold, but something deeper. Hours later, when Malik brought him to a small shelter downtown, the volunteers gasped. The child's jacket had an embroidered crest, gold thread, royal blue, the mark of the Levingtons, one of the richest families in the city. When news reached the mansion that the missing Levington heir had been found, police cars and cameras flooded the shelter. Malik stood in a corner, unsure what to do. He had never seen so many lights, so many people wearing clothes that probably cost more than his family earned in a year. Then, out of nowhere, a tall man burst through the doors, his face pale with fear and exhaustion. "Where is my son?" he shouted. The boy on the stretcher opened his eyes weakly. "Dad," he whispered, "he saved me." The billionaire turned, and his eyes fell on Malik. For a moment there was only silence, the kind that stretches forever, the kind that holds judgment or grace. Malik lowered his gaze. He expected anger, maybe even accusation. After all, he was just a poor black boy from the wrong neighborhood. But instead, the man crossed the room, knelt before him, and said in a trembling voice, "You saved my child. You saved my world." Tears glistened on Malik's cheeks. He didn't know how to respond. The crowd watched in stunned silence as the billionaire, a man known for power and pride, took off his own coat and wrapped it around Malik's shoulders. "From this day," he said, "you will never be cold again." The next morning, reporters filled the headlines. "Poor boy saves billionaire's son. A miracle in the snow." But Malik didn't care about fame. What mattered to him was that the boy, Ethan, had survived. They became inseparable. Malik often visited the mansion, and Ethan would insist they play in the snow together, this time with scarves and laughter instead of hunger and frostbite. The city began to whisper Malik's name, not as a story of pity, but of hope. For once, people stopped walking past the poor. They stopped pretending not to see. Months later, at a charity gala, Mr. Levington announced a foundation, the Malik Trust, to help street children find food, shelter, and education. When reporters asked why, the billionaire simply smiled and said, "Because my son learned compassion not from wealth, but from the warmth of a hungry boy's heart." Malik stood at the back, his old shoes replaced by polished ones, but his humility untouched. He looked up at the glittering chandeliers, then down at his scarred hands, remembering that cold night. He had nothing to give that day, except kindness, and that was everything. In time, people forgot the headlines, the speeches, the photos. But not Malik and Ethan. Every winter they'd meet at that same bus stop, leaving a coat and a loaf of bread for whoever might need it next. Because Malik knew what too many people forget, that no one is too poor to be kind. Because kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back. And as the snow fell once more, two friends, one rich, one poor, stood side by side in silence, their breath rising in the cold air, a promise written in frost and faith. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Whispered Words, where every story reminds us that compassion is the richest gift we can give. Tell me in the comments, what's the kindest thing a stranger has ever done for you?